saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turned small rooms into launch pad flights. Grew up on base where the bike ties hum, Crestview dunk ball, rubber band wars young. Trees we climbed stood tall like the dreams we slung. Sun on our backs, whole world on our tongues. Then boom, light flip, tight walls, no space, 5 deep in one room, but we kept.
Most of the time, technology works until it doesn't, and never, life never goes as it's planned. Am I correct, Young MC?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Did you plan to have the type of career that you had when you were at USC?
I don't think anybody does. I was hoping. My parents gave me the summer to get it out of my system, and the Bust a Move came out finals week of senior year. So by that September, if the music hadn't hit, I was either going to grad school or getting a regular job. And then by that next, that would have been May. So by that next February, I had a Grammy. So, and was double platinum and had, written for Tone and all that stuff. So, lot went on.
When people talk about blowing up, right? They don't see the work that goes behind it. What was the work part of it, and what were you going through before the actual bubble happened?
I mean, I had been rapping since I was 11. Rapped all through high school, DJ'd my prom, was doing stuff in New York, and then after sophomore year, went back to LA, rapped over the phone for the guys at Delicious Vinyl. They sent me a contract in the mail. I was in student senate, and I literally took the contract to Dave Simon, who was the law school representative of the student senate. So that was my entree into the music business.
Well, with Delicious Vinyl was because the Far Side came out on Delicious Vinyl. That was years later, though.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah. Tone, Mellow Man, Def Jeff, Body and Soul that never came out. They were on Delicious around the time that I was on.
What about the writing aspect of it? Because, for the people who know you and know your music, we know that Funky Cold Medina and, Wild Thing was you. But do you prefer the writing side and then another artist performing, or do you prefer writing and performing it yourself?
I prefer the writing in terms of the entire process. Someone else performing it is just like whatever. I mean, I like the creative process of feeling like something's done, and I've made a nice cohesive piece of art. I feel. I mean, all right. Tone's music is a little bit different because I wrote it for him in his voice with his cadence in mind. So that's one of the few times where I knew exactly where it was going, and I wouldn't have written those lyrics for myself. So to this day, if someone asks me to perform those songs, I won't. So because those are Tone songs. A lot of writing, unless it's for a woman or something like that, I might write something that would be for me, and then it might go to someone else, unless they give me a direct, idea, and it's something that's totally opposite of who I am. But they need lyrics written or they need a song written for it. So I like performing, but the performing is enhanced by good writing. So I think it would be a nightmare to be on stage performing mediocre lyrics or a bad melody or something like that.
We talked about the transcendence that you've had, and again, my daughter has you in heavy rotation on the playlist. Every single person that I've talked to in the past week that I told them that you were coming on the show, every one of them stopped and could recite your music immediately. But when your music came out, it was quite a bit different than what was out at the time, because we're talking about the NWA days. We're talking about, a lot of, West Coast hip hop, which when it first started, a lot of, gangster rap, things like that. But you almost gave a voice for me. I remember hearing music at the beginning. You gave me a voice where I didn't have to go the same way as everybody else, and it was almost a happy kind of thing. Was that a challenge for you? Did you struggle with that when you were going, or was that just your personality?
That was my personality. That was who I was. So and who I am. So I didn't really feel like I needed. And trust me, I've been pushed to try and do more gangster music or whatever, but it's just not me. So it just got to the point where I wanted to do, what felt good to me. And especially looking back at it now, if you're going to perform something 1,000 times on stage, you better like it. There's some bands that go around or some groups that go around and they hate their biggest hit, and I'd hate to be in that position. I'm not the hugest fan of Principal's Office. I haven't performed it in decades. But having said that, if that was the biggest record and I needed to eat, then I could see my way clear to it. Luckily, it's Bust a Move, and I like the song, and there's some lyricism in it. It's not the easiest thing to do on karaoke, so that's especially now with traditional rap kind of going away in terms of pop music. I'm pretty happy with what I got.
How about the music game now? I mean, you just came out with a single. The game seems to be a bit different. Back in the day, you used to get signed to a label. That was a huge thing, and then you go on and you have your Grammy moment. Today's music is it's different. I just heard Ice-T yesterday. And it was strange to see him, but he was on Instagram and he was live, and he said, "Look, I've come back into the music game. I've got a website. I want you to come and hang with me. If it's only 1,000 of you, I'm completely cool with that. But now I'm distributing myself. I'm my own record label." How has that changed for you?
Well, I mean, it's hard, man, because when downloading happened, it went, the revenues were cut once, and now streaming happens and it's even cut again. So I've kind of readjusted the way I look at quote unquote selling music or selling records. Um, my approach is to get it out in front of as many people as possible, and then if I can make money from a show or from a license in a movie or something like that, I'm not necessarily relying on the streaming aspect to be the thing that supports everything, because it really isn't. It really doesn't pay much. And there's a lot of older artists that say you shouldn't stream at all, but I'm looking at it like, I got 1.7 million monthly listeners on Spotify. It's like, why wouldn't I want to go touch them?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it, to try and use that as a springboard to do other things. And then, I'm on this I Love the 90s tour. We've been touring a lot. I get to do my new music before I do Bust a Move in that. So that's another place where I can express my new music to people. So it's not as painful as me being out in the wilderness just throwing out a song and nobody being able to hear it.
When you were writing the album in the first place, how many tracks were on the first album?
Oh gosh, I think 13, 12, 13, something like that. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. Did you know that was going to be a hit?
If you say Bust a Move in particular, no. Principal's Office is supposed to be my single. Then Tone hit with Wild Thing and Funky Cole Medina. So they said, oh, we should do a danceable track for Young MC, for Marvin. So I wrote 90 minutes and I called it Make That Move. The Matt and Mike at the label changed it to Bust a Move. That was it. It was pretty much the first draft. It wasn't rock. It wasn't up tempo. It didn't have Tone's voice on it. It was more R&B centric than pop. It didn't break on K-Rock the way that Wild Thing had broken on K-Rock. So I had no idea. It was like blazing its own trail. People knew that I had done the stuff with Tone, so that was helpful. But in terms of knowing what the record would do, you don't know. Especially, cell phones are bigger than my computer. There's hardly anybody's watching cable. You don't know that somebody likes the song until you land in the city and people are singing it back to you. So other than looking at trade magazines, and that really doesn't dictate fan response. It may show charting or show that you're good in a certain market in terms of radio. But in terms of a song being a hit in a market, you don't know until you land there. There was no real way to trace it. So it went a while, man. It was a year plus, really, until or at least when the awards started coming, for me to realize, like, oh, okay, this is a different record. This is a groundbreaking. And also, like, Bust a Move outlasted my second and third singles. Like, it stayed on the charts. My second single came and went, Principal's Office. I Come Off came and went, and Bust a Move stayed. So I'm like, okay, it has staying power. It's like 40 weeks or something like that.
And you broke like you were the first with the Grammy of best rap. Am I correct?
First televised. Will Smith had won the year before, but it wasn't televised. And
Okay.
then there was the whole boycott, which I wasn't even aware of as much at the time, but there was the whole boycott, and then mine was the first televised. So yeah.
Tell me about the video when you guys did the video, because nowadays somebody films a video, we've got the power of a cinema in our hand now, but back in the day there was so much planning going in, things like that. But how was the video experience for you when you were doing
I
it?
think
Because
the
that was
big
the
deal
hype.
for me was it was a 2 day shoot. I was like, we get to get up tomorrow and come back here. That was the thing for me. And there were so many people, in it, actors, musicians, personalities. It was just a really interesting experience. But once again, there was nothing else like it, and it was very literal. And I was like the record. I turned into a black rod Serling because I just kept describing the stuff that was behind me. So that's what it looked like in terms of the video, but it was just different. You know what I mean? So going through it, I'm like, okay, this we go through the first day, go through the second day. Okay, it's done. It comes out. Let's see. Um, it wasn't like I want to say the Wild Thing video um, was more based on Addicted to Love.
Mhm.
So but there was no theme with my video. It was very literal for the lyrics. So you go through it and you just you say, okay, that I think this will do something, but let's see. And that's really what it was.
How do you understand the contract side of it? Because there's so many times in that era where people have talked about, hey, I got a contract. I didn't understand how to read it. I didn't understand the contract I signed because I was so excited to get signed to a label. And then the advantage was taken of them. But it seems like you were on the opposite side of that.
Well, I can't really go too deep into it. I can say that I knew what I somewhat knew what I was signing, but then as time went on and I was doing more stuff and things were coming on, I was able to kind of amend the contract a little bit. But even with that, there was still disputes and lawsuits and all that. I mean, you can't have that much money going around. Um, I consider the music business what I call a litigation threshold business, that they'll do to you as much as they can until you sue them. And I
Hmm.
think everybody goes through that. So, having said that, if I didn't have that, what would my career be?
Yeah.
If I said no to the contract or went to another label or was in another situation, and there are people on, because I was with an independent label that signed to distributors, so they have to wait on their money. The distributor gets the money, they make them wait 6 to 9 months. Then the label that's essentially the sub label, they wait another 6 to 9 months, and I'm looking around, it's 18 months, and I know I'm selling records, but I don't have any money, or I don't have the money that I think I should have. So getting older and looking back at it, I can kind of see. But having said that, you know, I know if I was in a position and I had an artist, a couple artists that were making me money like that, you make sure you take care of them. So it is what it is.
What was it like for you? Because I mean, you were thrust into. I mean, you were one of the biggest names in the world at that time. You go from a scenario where Tone comes out because
Mhm.
Wild Thing and Funky Cold Medina had hit, and then Bust a Move comes out after that. Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, actually, Funky Cold Medina was during the Bust the Move time as well. Funky Cold Medina was '89,
Okay.
and Bust the Move was May of '89. So I think Funky Cold Medina come out a little before.
How'd you keep your head straight?
Um, Good parenting, going to college, so I knew the value of a dollar, and everything happened so fast. And also, I'd watched what happened with Tone, that I treated it more like a lottery win than a guaranteed salary. So the money that was coming in, I'm like, okay, this is extraordinary. So let me treat it as such, and take the opportunities I can, but not go crazy. Get one house, get one car, get really get one condo because I'm on the road, or and then I got my house years later. Um, yeah, so that's how I kept my head, because and you hear the horror stories about the people with the bad deals not getting the money, or the money that they do get, they blow it. So I just didn't want that to be me. And I had my degree in my back pocket. So I didn't really have to do it, but I was doing it because I wanted to do it. And that helped me in terms of how I positioned myself, meetings I took, all that stuff. So yeah, I that to me that was the easier part, because you're experiencing something extraordinary at 21, 22, really 22, 23 years old. It allows you to put it in real perspective.
What were the conversations with your parents? Because again, at that time, hip hop, it's coming into its own. It's not what it is like in today's side. Every product is sold through hip hop, music, things like that. But at that time, what was the conversation that your parents was having with you as you're growing up and you're saying, "Hey, I'm DJing, hey, I'm MCing, and I'm going to do this thing." What
Well,
does it look
it
like?
was it was all a hobby, right? And then I got signed after sophomore year. So their big concern is that I drop out of school and not stay for junior and senior year. My thing was, I could do local shows in LA, fly out on weekends, which I did. I took 1 week off. We did a promotional tour in Europe for the label for Delicious Vinyl. But other than that, unless literally it was going to pull me out of school where I had to go 24/7. But I was able to record at nights and weekends. I didn't have a car, so I was being driven to the studio. So there was nothing really that kept me from finishing school. But I had local hits. My Name Is Young, and I Let Them Know in terms of LA and K Day, but that wasn't enough time wise or money wise to pull me out of school. So by the time graduation was coming, I'm like, okay, well, the summer's coming. I'll be able to really devote all my time to it in the summer. And like I said, Bust a Move came out finals week of senior year. And then when that started taking off, I started doing the radio shows and the free shows and the support stuff and whatever. And then toured with Milli Vanilli in 1990. And that was a massive tour. And that bought my condo. So that I looked at it like, okay, I can afford a decent lifestyle, and I'm good at this music thing, so let's keep going.
What was the first pinch me moment when you went graduation? So graduation's like in June, right? June of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And by that next February, the Grammy happens. Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a specific pinch me moment, because we didn't, there wasn't a way to. I wasn't watching TV all the time. I wasn't watching entertainment TV all the time. So you go somewhere and people know who you are, and like, who I am, kind of thing. So there's not one specific moment. There were a bunch of those moments where people that I looked up to, famous people. I remember that I hadn't played tennis since I was like 8 or 10 years old, and I was invited to like a John McEnroe charity event, and I was standing around. I wasn't going to pick up a racket and embarrass myself. And I hear Marvin, Marvin, and I look over. John McEnroe was calling to me, and I'm like, that kind of thing. So I guess you call that a pinch me moment, but I wouldn't even be able to tell you if that was 89, if that was 90, what month that was, or whatever. It just kind of blurred. But I was awake and sober for all of it, so it just kind of put it all in perspective.
Take me back to young Marvin. What are some of the things that Pop was saying as you're growing up that are we all have, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have the dad that says the sayings over and over again. My pop would say things, the people business, things like that. What were the things that Pops was saying to you that resonate now?
I mean, I think both my mom really was making she wanted to make sure that I stayed in school and did well in school. In terms of dealing with the music business, they had no experience with that, and there wasn't anything. You can't really guide your child through the music business. You live through the music business, especially when things are going well. They want to be realistic, and make sure you have something to fall back on. And then their coworkers are like, well, why are you still working? Your son is famous. And then that pushes them back a little bit. So, I was on the front lines experiencing a lot of the stuff, and just making sure I kept a clear head on my shoulders, saying, don't let the praise get you too high, and don't let the criticism get you too low. And that was, some of that's my parents, but some of that's life. And that, that's what I kind of did.
Throughout the time, what were some of the anchors that kept your mind sober? That's what you just referred to as, and I know it's a figurative and a literal thing, but because you can get intoxicated by the fame, you can get intoxicated by the traveling, the notoriety, all those things.
I was a I was good at songwriting. I was good at being a musician. There were, people looked, I wouldn't say looked up to me, but they looked at me with some admiration, and I just took it all realistically that I was the same guy. That this doesn't make me any better than I was. I felt that I was prepared for it, so it wasn't even stuff that went through my head. It's just like each uh, situation I get into, I would just I would try and do the smart, somewhat conservative thing. Sometimes probably too conservative, but in hindsight, I kind of like where I am now, being able to look back on it and still being in a position at my age to put out music and use the wisdom that I have in giving music to people now.
Where do you draw your wisdom from?
Life experience, man. I mean, really, what it is, it's like, yeah, there's mentors in the time, but um, you live long enough and you do this long enough, you feel like you go through experiences that you feel like you've been through before. And a lot of times, if someone tells you something that sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And I wrote a big song for this artist Anastasia. This song, "Not That Kind," and she sold millions of records around the world. And my lawyer comes to me and says, "I can get you $1 million for your publishing." And my economics degree kicks in, and I'm like, okay, this is a $200,000 or $300,000 a year. If I look at amortization and sunsets and whatever, and if I wait 6, 7 years, I'll make that million without having to give up any rights. So I just didn't do the deal. A lot of people, if they're offered a big check like that, they want the big check. So it's me. I'm like, okay, I can make do with what I'm doing, and not take the big check. So I think that's served me well over the years.
Who inspired you early on, as far as like when you first got into DJing and rapping? Who were the main focal points or inspirations for you?
Oh gosh, everything from Parliament, Chic, Casey and the Sunshine Band, the Eagles to a certain extent because I like the versatility of the band. Um, Super rapping, Jimmy Spicer, Run DMC, obviously when they first came out. There were a lot of influences, a lot of inspiration.
How were you able to take that? Because um, hip hop seemed to have a sound. When your sound hit, it was different, right? And
Mhm.
where did that come from? Did you help with the production of the beat, or did they bring the beat to you?
Most of the time, they brought the beat to me. I did a little production on
Okay.
a couple songs, but most of the time, the records they bring the beat to me, and I write to the beat.
Do you generally have a concept and then they bring a beat to you and then you'll write, or do you just hear the beat and then you're inspired and you go?
Um, they sometimes they give me a concept. Uh, with tone stuff, they gave me concepts and titles. Um, a lot of my stuff were just verses saying how great I was, and we throw a hook at the end of the verse. I'd say the hook line at the end of the verse. So it took me a couple albums to really get to be a really good songwriter. Like Bust a Move was the beginning of my songwriting, where each verse kind of led into that hook. You couldn't really take those verses and put them on any other hook. So that was kind of that was kind of the growth from there.
What about the evolution too? Because one of my favorite groups of all time is De La Soul, and if you look at their discography, um, it's very. I relate it kind of to the Beatles, where it would be. It's so different. Every album is almost a different portion of their life, a different expression that way. Do you take it on in that kind of thought process?
I mean, I was at different stages of my life when I made the records. It's hard though when you have such a big record and such, you try to block out the success that you've had and what people are looking for, but it's impossible, especially if you're on a label and they're looking for the next Bust a Move or the next record that will move people like Bust a Move did. But I often say, like, having a record that big and trying to repeat it is like trying to have a second first girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, people were exposed to rap, pop rap that they could understand clearly, that many verses, 4 verses in the song, that kind of thing. It's the first time they're exposed to that. So them responding well to it doesn't mean that I could clone it and come back and they'd have the same response. And that's what a lot of people just didn't get. So I feel like my growth has been good. I agonize over lyrics. I try not to, but I agonize over lyrics because Bust a Move was 90 minutes. So I put a pen in my hand today and I'm like, oh, what is this 90 minutes going to turn into, kind of thing, right? So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm making the best music in my life. I feel like I'm really clear eyed when I approach something, and I have a really firm grasp on my process. And people that hear it like it, and a lot of people are surprised this far into my career that I can make good music the way I'm making. So I'll keep it going.
What's the process for you as far as, because I'm sure that there's a lot of producers throwing beats at you saying, okay, I got something. What attracts you to it, or is it just a feeling? Is like when you
Dude,
hear the beat?
Kelly, this the basic reason I produce my own stuff is that I'm not going to hear a loop out of your crate and be like, oh, that's it, that's the hit. I hear chord progressions, I hear cadences, I hear like elemental breakdowns of songs. So I like taking it from the first drum sample or the first chord progression into a song that I can rap to and do a melodic hook to, or even more melody now. Um, I'm you know,
Sorry, go. Sorry.
I consider myself a rapper. I consider myself a rapper songwriter, if that's a
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. I mean, I've people throwing beats at me all the time, but it's rare. I really never hear anything like, "Oh, I really got to get on that," because it takes so much for me to be inspired to say, "Okay, this is a good verse that'll go into a good, pre-hook that'll go into a good hook." I mean, I approach it more like a traditional songwriter, especially because I honestly feel as a creator, as a songwriter, as a musician, you only have so many good songs in you. I really feel that you get to a point where you've either written it all enough times over, or you can't you can only come up with such good stuff. So someone that throws something together 15 minutes out of their crate, or a sample that they got, or they throw together a beat. I'm not moved by music like that anymore. I hear the whole thing. So a lot of times if someone would give me a beat, there's stuff that I'd want to do to it to get it to the place where it inspired me lyrically.
How
So I
many?
often don't take beats. So go ahead.
Well, how many? When you said that an artist has so many songs in them, how many do you think that you have?
I mean, my ASCAP says that I'm somewhere around the 230 to 250, probably 250,
Okay.
250 song range. Now that may include some re-records and remixes or whatever. But I hear guys writing 1,000 songs, and it's like that would drain my soul, especially if I'm waiting on the A&R to say if they liked it or not. That would literally drain me. And the thing is, by doing it that way, I have a higher percentage of my catalog that actually makes money.
Yeah.
You know, people with someone with 1,000 songs, and maybe they've gotten a couple dozen of them cut, but the other 900 of them sit around, or they got put this in a commercial here or that there. But the vast majority of what I have in my catalog, everything's pretty much made an album of mine, and a lot of them have been in some kind of licensing situation, and that's made me I'm probably too I'm too precious with my music. I cherish it too much probably,
Uh-huh.
but it's put me in a good place. So when I finish something, I'm not wondering if it's ever going to be heard. I know it's going to be heard.
Tell me about the licensing part, because this is part is fascinating. You and I were talking right before we started recording, and we were talking about It, and Bust a Move was on It, and my daughter, huge fan of It, and kids get introduced later on to it. But what does that game look like, and how did you learn that part of the game?
Well, you learn it by living through it. You see the licenses. I mean, gosh, it was Uncle Buck, I think, was the first big one, because oh God, I forget John.
John
I forget.
Candy.
I forget. No, no, but the director. But anyway, the director really liked Delicious Vinyl, and he liked the songs. I think he had Wild Thing or Funky Comedina in there, but he had both Bust a Move and both Bust a Move and Got More Rhymes, the B side in that movie. So seeing that, seeing how I'm still seeing little little pieces of revenue from that to this day. And then what I was able to do when I get a few licenses for songs that I own totally, like other lesser known songs, and what that does. That game has changed a lot, though. It's really focused around big hits. And now between library music and AI and people willing to clone stuff or whatever, it's really difficult to get a original song from a known artist into a movie unless you're signed to a major that's affiliated with the movie company, that kind of thing. But um, I always keep that in the back of my mind that if the song goes, that I don't want there to be a big sample in it or any swearing in it or something that would keep it from being able to for me to be able to say yes, put it in your film or your TV show or your video game or whatever.
What was the challenge when AI produced music started to hit, right? And it's just been, has it been maybe a year, 6 months, a year, somewhere around there, where it really started to come to the forefront? What's the challenge of it, and what's the tool side?
What's the what?
What's the downside to that? But what's the upside? Because I mean, AI, if it's used as a tool, it can be great. Like, if I have a paragraph that I need to write and I need to make sure that the punctuation is well, I can use it as a tool. There's also the other side that it can be a negative. Is there a positive and negative in music?
I think the positive is, there's a lot of writing sessions where they'll go in and they'll write a song and they'll ask the AI platform to create a version of the song in a certain genre that they're not necessarily writing in, and see what that comes up with, and then they'll get real players to replay or interpolate what they hear on the AI, that kind of thing. Some people will use it for ideas. Some people use say write a verse to this and see what comes up, and then they'll use that to influence the verse they write. I mean, that's done already. So whether it's positive or negative, I mean, that's done. But I equate that to somewhat like I use a rhyming dictionary now, and I went, gosh, 20 years plus from my deal. Probably was like '07 before I started really diving into my rhyming dictionary because I thought it was cheating. But it's like, no, all those words are in my vocabulary, but they may not be in my mind at the moment that I need them. So that's kind of how I look at AI. Not that I've used it, but I can see where people are coming from saying, okay, I never would have thought of putting a ukulele on something. I never would have thought of whatever. But you hear what the AI comes up with and you're like, oh, let's, get a ukulele player to play something like that over the record. So, those things I see it really expanding, but creating from whole cloth. It's at the point now where Suno's going to watermark, and Spotify is going to start saying that a song is AI or an artist is AI. So the walls are kind of closing in on that now.
What about the process for you as far as going in to write an album? One of my friends, him and his brother started the band Switchfoot, and what they do is they go up to LA, they take 2 weeks, they rent a house, and the whole band spends time together, and then they come back and they have spent the time, they write the album, and they do the stuff. What's your process for it when you're doing it?
Um, because Bust a Move was such a big record, and I see what singles do, I was already leaning in this direction. But albums are released and consumed within a week now. Sometimes a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then they ask where's the next album. So I have taken to making the best singles I can and not really thinking about an album until I get enough singles to where I can plot out a release strategy and then say, okay, this will be a good time to put the album together. But especially doing it myself, I I'm on one was a 16-month process. I had put 2 singles out. They got to Kinetic had gotten to 28 on the Billboard rhythmic chart. And then the person handling radio was basically told, well, this is as high as you can get without being a melodic song. Listen to the 27 records above them. They all have melodies. They all have singing. So I'm on one was like a tongue-in-cheek answer to that. but also um, the chord progression, having two singing verses with a rap verse in the middle. The fact that the record is like 2 minutes and 15 seconds long. The intro is like 9 seconds. All of these things, all of the elements of what a programmer would want in a hit record. I literally thought of that in making that song. There's a live string quartet. The shout out to the Poiesis Quartet, that live string quartet that's on that record. Um, I there were a lot of sessions on that record, and it's turned out so well that my initial thought was like, okay, put it out, wait a month, put something else out. I'm probably going to end up working that record because it's still ascending. We're 2 weeks in, and it's still ascending, and I haven't even pushed all the buttons yet, and the algorithm hasn't picked it up yet. I may be on this record for month and a half, couple months, and then we'll see where we are. I'm going to start performing it, come this weekend. So my life is revolving around I'm on one. And then once we get it further down the line, we'll think of the next single. I probably have enough songs in total to make an album, or at least a long EP. But I like the feeling of having good songs that people can sing along with or people can react to. So I'm just going to keep doing that for a bit, and then eventually there will be an album because you'll get enough songs. But I don't feel the urge to make an album as soon as I think of my first song.
Writing, producing, performing, or filming the video? How would you put them in order for you as far as what you like?
Writing first, really in that order. Writing first, producing second. Producing means recording it as well as the artist. Performing third, and then visuals are kind of, visuals is just something you need to do, especially now for content. People don't, especially from independents, they don't really consume long form video. So it's pretty much in that order: writing, producing, performing, and visuals.
Is it necessary to have a music video today?
Some people say that it is. You have to have some visuals because people want something to look at as they listen to the music. So whether it's a long form music video, you can do some stuff from live performance. You can, put pieces together. So my dog's doing something. What are you doing?
What kind of dog you got?
Well, this one is a Maltese. I have a Yorkie poodle, a regular Yorkie, and then two cats. So
Oh man,
me
you're
and my
in.
wife were into the animals.
You're in. So I recently I had Cool Bob Love, Bobito. You know Bobito, Stretch Armstrong and Bobito from the Stretch Armstrong and Bobito show.
Okay.
But they used to break artists back in the day. This was, I mean, the Wu Tang was on before they were Wu Tang. Old Dirty Bastard, Jay Z, you name it. They had them on the show before. So radio was so much different. When you alluded to K-Day earlier, it made my heart sing. What's the difference in radio today and back when you came out?
Radio broke artists back then. People listened to radio for new music. Now radio is like an add-on. It's an amplifier. I had records do well in markets with radio and never got one call for a show for my new music, and never got one extraordinary or one different opportunity that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't put the music out. So now I'm doing stuff digitally because radio looks at what happens in terms of what's online, streaming, virality, all that. Show promoters, brand deals, all that stuff. They watch online. They don't watch radio. Radio is something you do after you've got the foundation of being online. That's why they pick up viral TikTok hits and they break those. So that's what it's really taught me, that radio is not the thing you do first.
How can we as an audience support? Like, I mean, you're a favorite for so many people, but so many people sometimes don't understand the best way to be able to support. What's the best way?
It's ironic because I put out a post on my Young MC Facebook page to my followers on that page, which is not a ton, like under 10,000, but I put out a post there and ended up doing so well that I put it out as an ad. But the way that you support an artist with algorithms and the like is you start with your search engine and you type in or the search on your favorite music platform. That's even better. You type in the artist name, so you type in Young MC, and you type in the single name, the song name. I'm on one. So you show the platform that you search for the record. Then you find the record, and you play the record. Play it from beginning to end, because playing it from beginning to end tells the algorithm you didn't switch it off in 10 seconds. Then play it from beginning to end again, because it tells the algorithm you liked it enough where you played it twice. And then when you're done playing it the second time, put it in your playlist, give it a heart, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, whatever it is to show that you like the record. And that, in the case of I'm on one, that whole process would take 5 minutes because the record's literally like 217. But that process in and of itself shows that you're an interested listener more so than 90% of the people that stream. So if you want to support your favorite artist, just do that. If you want to support me after this, please go ahead and do that because it shows.
How do collaborations work? As far as, because you see so many like features started to happen. I remember it used to be where your favorite either MC or your favorite band, you listen to them, and now then there started to be a few features, and now it's almost like you have an album come out and you hear the songs and there's 15 different features on it. Is it advantageous, or how does it work?
I'm not the best person to ask for that because I never followed that trend. I was such a publishing pig. And also, I always thought about live performance. Although it's funny because there's people that have a lot of features and they'll get on stage and they'll do one verse from each of like 10 different hit records. And that's a good way to approach it. But when I was looking at it, it was like, okay, do I want to take a verse and give it to this person, give it to this person's record with the hope of, it being a hit? And if it's not a hit, it's stuck over there and I can't do anything with it. Or do I want to take out one of my 3 verses that I wrote to my concept and give it to this other artist? So, that other verse that I wrote, I can't really do anything with it. And if it becomes a hit and people want to hear the second verse, do I have to tour with this artist all the time? So I've always just been like that I've never really looked at it. And Bust a Move was me by myself, except, other than the chorus singer, Crystal Blake. It was pretty much me by myself. And I've always gotten on stage by myself and performed that record by myself. And that's my biggest record. So it's like, why do I need to start including people that have another big record?
I want to rewind for a second because there was there's been so much genius that you've unleashed on us. But the methodology, you went through it quick because it's normal to you. But I want to rewind on that and sit in it for a second, where you understood the cadence of a hit song and then constructed a song. Obviously, you wrote, you had the melodic side to it, all those things. You put your heart and soul into it, but you also had a cadence in writing that song. When did that methodology become clear to you? Because that part, when you talked about it, was so genius.
It's a reaction to every excuse I've gotten for a record not being played. With Kinetic, that was the highest charting that I've had in 25 years. And I couldn't get above 28 because it wasn't melodic. So I'm like, okay, one, make it melodic. The other record I had, Fun Part, which is a last longer. Oh, the intro's too long. The intro's like 25 some odd seconds because I have fireworks and whatever. I'm like, okay, make the intro short. Some of it I have 3 rap verses. Oh, there's too much rap in it. So I'm like, okay, have one 16-bar verse. Let me think. The chord progression. Oh, the song doesn't move around enough. So I made sure, I'm on one literally has, in the 8 bars, probably has 4 or 5 note changes. What else? I was into live instrumentation, so make it sound like live instruments. So if you ever got in front of a band, or if a band wanted to cover it, that you could do it. All of those things are going through my mind as I'm creating the song. All of those things. Now, mind you, each thing is step by step. But like I get to the point where I'm picking instruments, okay, make them live. I'm getting to the point where I'm writing the verses, okay, make it melodic. I'm getting to the point where I'm writing my verse, okay, make it 1/16. So it's not like I'm burdened by all of those things every step of the way. But when I got to a point where I was going to add an element to the song, I had the memory of excuses of why songs weren't getting, played in the back of my mind. So
one of my
so the comments I've gotten back on it and would be uh, more mixing things or procedural things, or they'd rather synthesize instruments than live ones. But the construction of the song and my approach with all the ideas that I had pretty much worked. So it was basically taste things after that, not structural things.
So when you were touring, you started in '89. Am I correct, or was it early '90?
Um, no, I mean I was touring. I was doing shows. I was doing shows from '87,
Okay.
but I guess I started touring in '89. Like May of
Mhm.
'89 is when we started. You know, KML was in San Francisco was the big station to break Bust a Move, and I want to say their summer jam did like 30,000 people. That was the first big show that I did, and I want to say that was like June or so of that year. So um, then the real touring happened, where I'm gone from my house for months at a time, or weeks at a time at least, and I'm was renting a corporate apartment until I was able to buy my condo. So yeah.
How was the adjustment? I mean, being in the studio to performing in front of 30,000.
It's a lot. You got to make sure you remember your lyrics. I burnt my throat out, so I had to get my tonsils taken out after the so I think I got my tonsils taken out in '90, late '90, into going into '91. So yeah, that was kind of spooky, and that's from overuse. I mean, like literally going from Mississauga, Canada, where it's damn near below freezing, to like Tucson, Arizona, and it's like 80, 90 and dry, and my tonsils just couldn't take it.
Do you prefer performing with a live band or performing with a with the beat and a
I've
DJ?
not, I haven't had much opportunity to perform with live bands. It's very costly, and a lot of times, my music has samples in it and the like, so there's not much. A lot of times a live band wouldn't really be able to recreate it unless we're taking the samples on stage. So, you know, a lot of guys will play where they have the track going and they have a drummer playing with it and a guitar player or a bassist playing with it. So I could see myself, you know, open to doing that, but I don't even take a hype man on the road, because I get to open and I get to be flexible, and I can do different show lengths and not be an extra hotel room, an extra plane ticket, and an extra body, out on the road. So I don't even take a DJ with me. So it's I put my heart and soul into my tracks. I master them. So I put my tracks together as if I'm putting together an album to play behind me. Matter of fact, now Kelly, I have my lyrics behind me. So literally, I have a visual going for a song, and all the lyrics that I say in that song will be appearing behind me as I say them. So that's how much I've gotten into the recorded visual aspect, or the recorded aspect of the tracks behind me.
Is everything in your life as methodic? Like, if you, I can't, I mean, you're saying it, I'm listening to it, so I'm in taking, taking it in. I can't wait for you to listen back to this, because you literally, I mean, it's like you're an architect. You did the architectural side of a song. You did it for a tour. You're looking at every. I mean, was that always your analytic brain, from when you were growing up?
Once again, it's from the touring side, I looked at it like, because I was always the opener. We've done 500 shows on this '90s tour, so I'm like, what can I do to stand out? What can I do to make the experience? I put myself in the position of someone that's paying money to come see me. So, I make sure my clothes are clean, they match, I'm in a good mood, do call and response, mention the city or where I am, show that I'm interested, so that people can say that they got their money's worth watching me. And then I'm thinking of, I have the visuals behind me, and I've started that over the last really couple of years. But then the lyrics were something that I looked at, because lyric videos do so well online. So I'm like, okay, I pretty much say the lyrics the same way. What if I put them behind me? I don't have to read them, but the audience can, so they can sing along. Because a lot of times, and I've even, when the guys were putting, shout out to Chris Peterson, he's putting the lyrics together for me. Um, on the visuals, and he looks at the lyric sheet and he's like, "Oh, I thought you said something like that, but I didn't know exactly what you said." And he's someone who works with me, listens to the songs, pretty much knows the songs, but he wouldn't be able to verbatim tell you the lyrics. So if he's having that reaction and he's working on the stuff, can you imagine, a listener, an audience member? So I'm like, okay, let's put them behind me and let's see what happens. I've only done it once so far, um, and I got a really good response from it. But I'm going to do it going forward, and I'm on one will be the first time this weekend. Will be the first time I'm doing it with lyrics behind me for I'm on one.
When you were writing I'm on one, did you have the audience in mind, or were you doing it from just like, hey, this is what I want to do?
Well, it's funny you asked me that. The last couple years of writing from being on this 90s tour, usually you write a record, you go and then record it in the studio, and then you guess what it'll sound like on stage. I, for the first time over the last couple of years, have been writing with the stage in mind, and it's really made it fun for me because I'm like, okay, this is where I can have call and response. This is where someone could sing along. This is where, I can take a moment or a breath for people to recover from what they've just heard or prepare for what's coming. So every aspect of the song, from arrangement on down, uh, is, I have the stage in mind, I have the audience in mind. And the interesting thing, my storming version of I'm on one is a lot longer than the single version because I want to be able to prepare the audience, talk them up, get myself ready. I'm, going to use a mic stand, stand still to make sure I'm in key, that kind of thing. All of that stuff is calculated, to give me the best chance of putting on a good performance, or making sure that I do put on a good performance when I'm out in front of people. So look at Kelly, if this is what you do for your living, and you've been doing it for damn near 40 years of your life, and if you take the amateur days, I picked up a mic when I was 10 or 11 years old, so we're approaching 50 years. You're gonna think it through.
Yeah.
You don't want to get up on stage and have there be like some guessing game. And if there's a way you can make it better for the people watching, why not make it better?
What's the next frontier for you?
More new music, eventually an album, and then we'll see where it takes me. I'm doing it because I want to, not because I have to. And that's
Yeah.
that's been a real um, a real saying that I live by. That I'm really doing it because I want to.
What artists are inspiring you right now? Like and across genres, like that you're listening to and you're saying, oh, I'm drawing inspiration from.
I mean, it runs the gamut. I mean, I listen to a lot of older music, but like early Kendrick, early J. Cole, um, early Drake, a lot of the guys on the West Coast. I really just got a chance to listen to some of Nipsey Hussle stuff, and it was really good. And then I look at guys from my day. Um, yeah, I mean, people are out there trying to put their heart into their music. They're putting their heart into the music, and it's up to the listener to kind of see and hear what they're trying to do, and then I take that into consideration when I'm making my music.
Before you're about to get on stage, what gets you hyped up? Are you listening to music, or are you silent? Are you just getting in the zone? What do you do?
I'm silent. I'm silent. I mean, it wouldn't, if anything, I'd be listening to the show to make sure I got it right or what falls where. Like if I'm doing it, like I carry, gosh, 5 to 7 different show lengths with me. So sometimes you'll get into a city and they want a different show length, or you don't look at the day sheet until you're ready to go, and then like, okay, I'm doing this length. So you kind of go over what the breaks are in between songs, how much time you have to talk up, that kind of thing. Where how much you can move around on stage, if so and not. Um, those are the things I think about because once again, I want to make sure that the people watching me have a good time. You know.
What about when you're out with your family, you walk into a restaurant, I mean, this is going to happen with you and it probably happens quite a bit. You walk into a restaurant and your music is playing over the sound system.
If that happens and I'm with my wife and nobody notices, I may make a joke to her and we keep it going. If someone recognizes me, then it becomes a little awkward.
Yeah.
Some people would think I'd break out into some kind of interpretive dance or start singing along with it. It's like, no, it's like another song. So, in terms of, they play all kind of music here, that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Do you flex on your wife a little bit when it comes out? Like when you hear it a little bit? Because I think that I would flex on my wife a little bit. You know what I mean? I would be like, look, did you hear it?
No, not really. She's seen me do it a bunch of times, and that's what I do, not who I am.
Yeah.
So she knows who I am. So she's still getting her head around the fact when other people, say that I'm famous, that I'm actually famous. which is cute.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's authentic. It's organic. It's sincere. So it's been a good thing.
What made you choose USC in the first place?
Um, to be honest, late filing period. Didn't get into Stanford. Didn't
Okay.
get into U Chicago. Had gotten into a couple other schools, and and then USC looked good.
Yeah.
And ironically, my degree has become more valuable as the years have gone on. I mean, especially the economic school and the business school have really, but I've
Yeah.
never written it down on a job application, which is fascinating. But I wouldn't trade that time for anything in the world because I had a work ethic coming from my high school. I went to Hunter College High School in New York, and I know multiple kids. I got 1,600 in the SATs, and the like everything from everyone from Lin Manuel Miranda to Elena Kagan, the Supreme Court Justice, went to my high school.
Uh-huh.
So it was very rigorous, and it gave me a really good work ethic. But going to college and really seeing it through and getting my degree before I really went out on my own with the music just taught me the value of finishing. So that's something I wouldn't trade for the world because it really has seen me through. A lot of people who don't succeed, a big portion of it is not showing up or not finishing. So I make sure that I show up and finish for anything I'm, committed to, and that helps me a lot.
My 17-year-old daughter just went to Vogue Summer School in New York, in Manhattan, for 2.5 or for a little over 2 weeks. And she's 17 years old. She fell in love with the city. Now she wants to be in New York. What would your advice to her be to her? She's graduating high school this year. She's gonna be a senior, and she literally is hell bent on New York.
If she goes and she likes it, she'll grow out of it. It may be that, even if she goes there and she gets a job there, at some point she'll be burnt out. I mean, she grew up in Carlsbad?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. So maybe because she grew up in Carlsbad, she wants the opposite now, but at some point she'll want either Carlsbad or something in between, or something even slower than Carlsbad.
Hmm.
But New York is good in doses, but you get to a certain age, especially between the traffic and the expense and all that, where I'm happy I grew up there, and I'm glad I got the street smarts and the business smarts that I did, and it definitely has helped me. But the calm and peace that I have living in Scottsdale, even when I went from New York to LA felt like a college town initially, because you're in West Hollywood, you're not in downtown LA. So that would, she's at the age, if she really wants it, then make sure she's safe, but let her go get it, and then at some point she'll grow out of it.
What's the unfair advantage of growing up in New York?
Um, that you can rub shoulders with someone that makes 10 times less than you make or 10 times more than you make, and we're all trying to get to wherever we're trying to get to. So it's not, you can see success, and you can see, you can literally, a millionaire can walk by you and you can look down at a homeless person within, with on the same block. So that's pretty unique.
So I started the podcast because of my two kids, Maddox, who's 14, and my daughter, 17, McKenna, I just told you about. She's into the arts. But she loves the business part of the arts. Um, and then Maddox is a sports guy, loves that. I didn't want him to worship idols. I just wanted him to be inspired by iconic people like yourself. And so what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could say both their names, that would be awesome.
Um, for Maddox, does Maddox want to be in athletics, or he just likes sports?
He just likes sports. I don't know that that'll be his path, um, but he enjoys that part.
Well, then keep enjoying it. I mean, there's not really much that I can say in terms of that. Keep enjoying it, and if it turns into some kind of path where you're an agent or a physical therapist, or someone that does PR promotion for a team or something like that, and your career grows into that, then that's more of a traditional vocation, that you can use, that fulfills your joy, if not your passion. For McKenna, um, I would say, if you're in school, stay in school. If you have a job, keep your job. and make the arts your hobby until they become lucrative enough to become your career. That's what I tell everybody. There's no guaranteed anything getting into the arts until not only they give you the check, but the check clears and you're able to spend it on something. So, a lot of people will make promises. Oh, I think you're talented. We could do this. We could do that. We could go here. I know this person. Let the check clear out of the bank and spend it on something that actually improves your life, and see how that is compared to a salary that you'd make from your job. And then you see where you are in terms of the arts.
You're way better than advertised, man. I mean, I think probably one of my favorite quotes that I saw was the humility that you said. There was a clip on social media, and you said 90, and literally like a lot of your life is due to that 90 minutes, right? And you were talking about the fact that, but you didn't look at it as a, hey, this is going to happen every day. And you even said it today, I saw it as a lottery part, but I needed to be smart as I went through. But the methodical mentality, the inspiration that you've given, man, is unreal. Unreal.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm not a gatekeeper. There's not really many gates left. So there's a lot of people that the knowledge they have, they kind of keep close to the vest because they're fearful someone else will get that knowledge and do more with it than they did. And I'm not that person. I feel like I'm not only that I've learned a lot, but I'm still learning. And if I can make someone smarter, happier, in a better position after meeting me than before meeting me, then I'd rather do that than not.
What's the challenge right now that you're not to say that you're wrestling with, because you're enjoying what you're doing, things like that, but you seem like a guy who you're solving challenges as you go along. What is the challenge that's ahead of you right now that you're working on solving?
No, I mean, every song, if you're talking on a professional level, every song that I put out, it gets to a certain place. It hits a ceiling for whatever reason. Could be the song itself, could be how I put it out, could be the who I was up against. Just different things. So I guess the problems that I'm solving is making sure that I can dodge. It's kind of like, I guess, Tetris, where you're kind of dodging the ceilings, you're dodging the falling bricks. Yeah. Not that there's been a lot of falling bricks and I'm on one with 2 weeks, but that whatever comes my way, that I have something for it, and that I have enough belief in the song to say, okay, it's going to go further, or it's going to break through this, or, I had Tone said something really just heartwarming to me, because he's heard a lot of my new music as I perform it on the road. And his thing, he hadn't heard I'm on one yet, but he had said it about an earlier single. He said, all that needs to happen, Marvin, is that people need to hear it. He said, if people hear that record, it's going to be a hit. And that's kind of where I want to be, is if I can get to the point where people hear the music, they can hear something good in it. And it doesn't have to be with a major. It doesn't have to be with a certain collaborator. It doesn't have to use a certain sample. That I can create something that if someone sits down and gives it a listen, that they'll like it and want to listen again. Wow. And that's my ongoing quest, is to keep making songs like that.
Well, you're an absolute genius, man. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I want to respect your time. I would love to have you on in the future too, because I just think that there's so much more to be able to unpack. And I want to tell you that I'm going to force you to be my friend for the rest of your life. I want to get to the point where when we get on the phone and you're like, call me Marvin. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm working
If
towards.
we're talking on the phone, you can call me Marvin. It's just, like I said, the interview format, it's just like, the young MC, that's who it is.
I am. So. That's awesome,
yeah.
Man. That's amazing. Can you stick around just for a second? I'm going to run a commercial and then stick around for 2 minutes. Is that cool? Yeah. You have better than advertised, absolutely phenomenal. Every person out there, what I want you to do is right now, I don't want you to walk, I want you to run and go and not only stream I'm on one, but do it twice, like Young MC said. Click it, search it, listen to it all the way through, don't stop it, then do it again, and then do it again, and then send it to your friends. Because when you guys get a chance, like he was talking about, I've actually got a chance to be able to listen to it. It's phenomenal. And so I want to make sure that everybody that's listening and in earshot is going to make sure to do that, because we need to support the artists as they move along. But you're honestly better than advertised, man. My hat's off to you, and it has just been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Kelly.
Young MC, you're officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, and this the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us from base.